that grueling schedule of being on a daily soap opera. I think a lot of people actually don't understand how intense, the schedule of filming is if one is on a daily soap opera.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's 12 hours, and most of the time it depends. If you are in story, like there's A story, B story, and C story, most of the time I'm always on A story. When you're on A story, I hardly see my daughter. It's always like, 7 to 7, and it's tough, but, we have to work and we have to do what we love. But at the end of the day, it's finding those moments when you can. When you get home, you're tired. I had a conversation with my daughter the other day, and she's like, anytime you get home, you're so tired, and I'm trying my best. So when I'm off, I'm off. When I'm off, I'm home with her, and I try my best to spend time with her. So it's not easy at all, but, I'm truly grateful because that's always what I've always wanted to be an actress, and now I'm chatting to you.
and are you still enjoying life on a soap opera set? It's always interesting to catch up with actors who've sort of been in a soap opera for a very long time.
Yeah,
right? No, you haven't gotten there yet.
I'm not there yet. Okay.
You're not there yet.
I have a long way. Okay.
Yeah, there's still a lot of soapy legends who can hold that title and be like, actually, Mapaseka.
Yes.
But do you still enjoy sort of the routine of it all and the character, obviously, and how long has it been now, by the way?
Sure. Bridget, it's been like 10 years.
Has it been 10 years already?
10 years, yes. 10 years already, and it doesn't even feel like 10 years. I think the reason why I'm enjoying playing Dinke even still today is the way they write for her. From the day she began to what's happening in her life now, it's one of the most beautiful character developments I've seen. So the way they write for her, I think that's why I'm enjoying Scandal. But obviously, people would ask questions like, aren't you bored? But I think the toughest thing of being on a soapie for that long is when you have to audition for other roles. Because I've been playing one person for so long, sometimes it's difficult to shake her off my system when I go for auditions or when I have to play other characters. So I panic a lot every time I have to play other characters because I'm trying my best for people when they're watching. They must find a way not to see her, but to see whoever I'm playing.
Is it difficult to sort of shake the shadow of the character of Dintle?
It is difficult. But, I speak like her. So it's very difficult, especially people like me. The only good language that I know this is Sotho. So when you can speak other languages, it's easier to say, okay, cool. If I get a character, I'm Bali, I can speak Sizulu, but I can't. So I always have to try my best to make sure that when I get different roles, I try not to remember that this is not Dintle. Yeah. And it's difficult because sometimes when you leave from one set, I would leave Scandal to go on a different set same day. So you can only imagine that, in same day, I have to shake it off, become Mapaseka again, and go become Naledi somewhere else. So it's not easy.
And tell me this, Mapaseka, how has it sort of from a different production perspective? A lot of times actors will talk about the fact that people start seeing you, not just fans and audiences, but, producers and directors from other productions start seeing you as that character. And so it becomes difficult for them to imagine you inhibiting whatever they might be writing. And that translates into a difficulty for an actor a soapy actor in particular, to explore other projects. What has been your take and perception around that?
That is so true, because I've turned down a lot of auditions, not roles, but auditions, because every time I read the script, I feel like whoever wrote this and whoever thought I'll be great for this, they saw Dintle. I don't know if I'm making sense. So sometimes it feels like I was scared to get to the point where I'm going to be typecast. Everywhere I'm going, it's like, upbeat, Dintenyati, and they don't think I can play something else. So you're absolutely right. I'm sure there are millions of producers out there who every time when they're writing a role and they have someone in mind, it's not, maybe Mapaseka can play this. It's always like, yeah, that girl Dintle, she might play this. But when you read, it's too similar to what I'm already playing. So when I see that, not in a bad way, I don't go, because I feel like, and I communicate with the directors or the producers, I feel like it's too close to what I'm doing already, and there's no yo, oh, Bridget, to some there's no something. And like,
Sure.
there's no, yeah, the change. Like, if I want to change or
Yes.
the difference between the 2 and the 3, because in myself, I feel like there is a little bit of dintle in Mapaseka.
Absolutely, absolutely. I always find that sort of that perspective from actors interesting and sobering, because it's part and parcel. We're going to get Hlomla in here for a conversation one of these weeks, and we were talking about him yesterday, and I was saying that it's part and parcel. For instance, why he left the river was that he felt that the character was inhibiting, and he's spoken about this publicly, so not even a secret. He felt that the character was restricting him as an artist. He got to a point with the character where he'd done everything he could do with it, and now it was very stagnant. And because he's the kind of creative that needs to stretch and build and challenge himself, he needed to exit the security of a soap opera where you've got long-term employment, and go back out there to go do the thing that he loved to do.
And I think all of us want to do that, but like you're saying, when you think of the security, I'm thinking, oh, if I and the fear, like you're saying, the fear of, oh my God, if I decide to leave this thing that I've been doing for so long, what's going to happen? What am I going to eat? But I guess when you plan, and when you plan financially, you do have the luxury to say, okay, I'm going to leave this so that I can do other things.
Talking about that consistency, this industry is very, very unstable. There's a lot of talented actors, a lot of talented musicians and creatives who just have never gotten the break that leads to success. How does one sort of stay grounded, to the vision and the dream, and you stay loyal to it, when you also know that a lot is so uncertain in this industry? It could be great today, and tomorrow someone could make a snap decision about something that has nothing to do with your talents, but it ultimately affects the trajectory of your life.
Yeah, sometimes I like what you're saying. You find the most talented and grounded, respectful people who don't bother anyone on set, but they're not working. And then you wonder what's happening. I think, for me, I always see it as time. Sometimes I feel like even the people who people think they're not talented, when it's your time, it's your time. I don't even have an answer for that, because I feel like sometimes you would do the right thing. And when I say the right thing, you are talented, you are always on time. Every producer knows, because producers talk. They know that this girl is always on time, she doesn't bother anyone on set, but you're still not getting work. And you wonder what is happening. But I guess more than anything, I just believe that timing is everything. Maybe it's just not your time. You find the most people, diva on set, they come late, they don't care. Whenever they are working, why? We don't know. I honestly don't know, but I think more than anything, this industry has taught me to always have plan B, because it feels like, or it looks like our passion, which is the things that we love, will not give us the wealth that we want. So that's why I always try my best. I sell clothes, I do this on the side, because I don't want one day, like you're saying, today you're hot, tomorrow you're not, and then begin like, I don't have money. I'm trying my best on the side while I'm still hot. Right now, maybe people think I'm hot, then I can try to find ways to make money on the side, because it is tough. It is tough. Our passion is not going to give me the wealth that I want. There's no money in this industry.
Absolutely. And that is a very sad point. It's a very sad point, and I think it's a very sobering point for anyone listening to our conversation. Not meant as a deterrent for those parents who have young kids who want to get into the creative sector, not meant as a deterrent, but it's the reality also of how where we operate from, the environment that we operate from in the South African context. And interesting when you talk about that, sort of the unsustainability, the financial unsustainability of it all. It's a recurring conversation that happens, but there seems to be no real will with the powers that be to change that, to make the remuneration reflective of the talent. And I'm talking across all the creative disciplines now.
Yes, and I like it feels like you're saying, there is no change. People before me, even people before the ones before me, they've been trying their best. They've been having the same conversations, but nothing is changing. And we're still entering, like you're saying, we're not discouraging anyone who's listening who wants to be an actor, who wants to be a broadcaster, whatever. But we're just saying that just know that there is no money in this industry, then you will have to find a way. But I guess that the great side of it is the, when the opportunity or the stardom, because sometimes you think, okay, cool, even if there's no money, if I walk in now with a business presentation, they might listen to me because I'm on TV.
Yeah.
So that's also a plus. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. While you're in the industry, you will find, and not everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. Not everyone wants to sell clothes, but you will find a way to think, what else can I do besides acting? Even within the industry, there's so many things that you can do. Just don't focus on one thing.
Absolutely. And that is what you've done so well, your ability to sort of pivot while still working. I remember speaking to you a couple of years ago, and also when I say a couple of years ago, because Mapa Paseka is young, so this was not like 15 years ago. It was just around the corner. You had opened up a cafe in Sandton, right, by the Gautrain station. Is that the cafe still open, or you closed that business and focused on other things?
COVID happened, and COVID happened, and it was the most depressing time of my life. But I think more than anything, it is part of my story. COVID happened, and then we had to close down. And then after that same time, I was like, okay, cool, let me just take a break and think. Because at the time, I was married, and it was mostly my ex-husband's passion, because he loved restaurants. He wanted to have a restaurant one day. So it was ours. But once that stage passed, and after my divorce, I also realized that now I'm on my own. What do I need to do? What must I do? And I thought about it hard, and I just went into, I'm not going to lie and make up stories. I've always wanted to have my own clothing store. No. Side hustle, I'm trying my best. And I think it's not easy. Having a business is just like raising a child.
Yeah.
Some days are good, some days are bad, but you try so hard to make sure that you make it work.
Yeah. There's a clear spirit of determination with you. The fact that you recognize that you can create an opportunity out of nothing, or create an opportunity out of just the need for you to be able to see your visions through and your dreams through. Who do you attribute that to?
My mother, but I think it's not even the who, it's what happened. Bridget, like there was no money at home. We were hungry. We had nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing. And I remember moving to Johannesburg, and when I went to AFDA, I got a student loan to go study acting, go AFDA. I remember, AFDA is a private institute. The kids there, they have money. Their parents are rich. I was the most depressed child, but I was thinking, one day I will get my money right. Every time I give a like sometimes someone would eat and then not finish the food and throw it in the dustbin. I would ask God, all I want is to come to school and study. Why not? And I think that those the circumstances made me realize, I have no choice. I'm the breadwinner even at home. I have no choice but to wake up in the morning, especially the times where I don't feel like waking up in the morning.
Yeah.
I have to wake up in the morning and do what I need to do, because everybody at home depends on me.
Yeah.
So more than anything, I don't have a father who was a businessman and I learned something from him. I have nobody like that. We had no financial literacy, and nobody taught me how to save money. Nobody. But I think the thing made me realize that, you know what, you have no choice but to wake up in the morning and make it. Like I say, but even with the clothes, I always laugh at myself that, now I have the options. But back in the days, we used to wear second-hand clothes, and people used to laugh at us for, I better make the second-hand clothes. But now it's like, okay, and it also has helped me to respect money, to respect everyone that I work with, because like you said, things can change now.
Yeah. Let's hold it there for a second, Mapaseka. We'll come back on the other side and continue in conversation with Mapaseka as we get into the testimony part of her journey. 1:30 right here on The Full Circle.
In headlines this hour, the conflict in Eastern DRC tops the agenda of the SADC Heads of State and Government Extraordinary Meeting in Harare, Zimbabwe today. It is not clear whether the Democratic Republic of Congo President Felix Tshisekedi will attend the meeting. The poor state of local government in the Northwest is topping the agenda of a summit that the Provincial Executive Committee has organized in Potchefstroom. And 2 primary schools in Masoi in Mpumalanga remain closed due to poor infrastructure. Details at 1.
The National Pulse, weekdays, 3 to 6 p.m.
What would stern measures be for you?
I'm not in the defense force. If I was in the defense force, I will tell you what. We're going to make sure that we attack all the bases where M23 is being trained in Rwanda. All the places where the weapons are being supplied from. We will destroy them. There is no question about the fact that today Kagame is more arrogant than ever before. He can attack South African soldiers. What we saw there, it's not a ragtag army. It was the Rwandan regular forces which attacked our people in the DRC.
General Mojo Motau, retired South African Army General.
You're listening to the National Pulse on SAFM. Missed it? Find the podcast at safm.co.za. If you're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation. You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
Fridays on the Full Circle on SAFM. You know, it's about fabulous, fun conversations with friends of the show. And today we're catching up with award-winning actress, entrepreneur, and founder of Mummy Diaries. Mapaseka Kwetla joins us on the line. She has held the role of Dintle on Scandal, the much-beloved character, for the last decade now, and went on, in fact, to win a Best Supporting Actress award at the Royalty Soapy Awards for that character, Dintle on Scandal. Mapaseka is also a alumni of the Forbes Africa 30 Under 30 with the class of 2018. And as we know, she is an entrepreneur and a businesswoman. At one point, owning a George Grab and Go cafe out in Sandton before COVID came through and derailed that vision. And of course, if you follow her on Instagram, you also know that she owns a retail store and a retail brand, and she's the founder of Mummy Diaries, a movement for mothers. Let's talk a little bit about that, because you say all of this comes out of need, right? And I think a lot of people, we don't share the testimony of our stories, right? And you would know this. You probably encounter a lot of young children who are fans of the work that you've done on television, and who oftentimes they lead with, I want to be on TV, and I want to be on radio, and I want to be famous. But they don't understand that 7 out of 10 people who are creatives are people who have started these careers, yes, because of passion and drive, but also the prevailing circumstances of where they come from. Single householded families that were short on finances, and moms that had to beg, borrow, and steal to get you through school. And so there's a lot of people's dreams that are also vested in your success and your failures.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think, like you said, sometimes you just see, it's like watching a movie, you only see the end result, but we don't know the preparation that had to happen before we see the movie. And I think everyone's life is like that, where until you speak about it, no one knows where you come from. And especially when I speak to the kids, whether you go school or I'm invited to speak to young people, I always tell them that what you want wants you, you know. I don't have tools, but I can share with my story, and maybe my story will inspire them to be like, I'm not going to give up. And also, you're not the victim of your circumstances. I didn't go around saying, oh, because we didn't have this, now I'm not going to go to school, or because we didn't have this, I'm going to stop dreaming. Dream and continue wanting good things for yourself, because they're waiting on the other side.
Absolutely. When it comes to being an entrepreneur, you know, you say you're not innately, you didn't dream of wanting a clothing store, but you are, by all intents and purposes, a hustler, which is not a bad thing. Like, it's a great thing.
Yeah,
You know, how different is that? Hey, listen, I think everybody wants to be a hustler, but very few people. I said this to Dineo Ranaga a few weeks ago. I said one of the things I admire the most about Dineo Ranaga is her ability to start.
Yes, no, she does. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I've followed her a lot. Yeah, she does, and she starts, and she's also open about if it doesn't work out, it didn't work out, and I think that's what we're scared to do. Sometimes we want to start. We all have ideas, and then we start, and then we're just scared for, what if it doesn't go well? Just start. Like how I started the clothing brand. I used to post for someone else. You know, sometimes those Instagram boutiques will send you an outfit. Babare, please post for me and tag my. I used to do that a lot for Instagram boutiques. And this lady who I used to wear her clothes, she called me in and she's like, you know what? Every time you post for me, I make so much money, and I think you can do it. You can do this. I will help you. Let's start. Like, I will help, because we make the clothes from scratch. I don't buy clothes and then resell them. I have a whole CMT where people make the clothes and then I sell them. So I was like, okay, cool. Let me try it. But you can see how God works. Sometimes God will just bring people to start something. So it's not like I was born an entrepreneur. I'm still struggling. I'm still trying to figure it out. I don't really matter on zero. Give me zero, man. But you surround yourself with people who can help you. And even in this crazy world that we live in, there are still good people out there.
Absolutely. Testimony to that lady, by the way, who also decided to shine her light on your light. You know, because not a lot of people do that. Not a lot of people say, well, you're working for me, but let's see if you can also work for yourself. You know, there's so much clearly that you still want to achieve. And maybe I put you on the spotlight to say, where to from here? Because obviously the acting, you have been successful. You are coming up in the next season of Adulting, the final and last season of Adulting. You are one of the co-stars there. You've got Mummy Diaries, which is a movement for moms that you've begun. Perhaps a little bit of background on that for some of our listeners.
For Mummy Diaries, after I gave birth, which was 8 years ago, I used to have events at the coffee shop where mothers will come together and we'll just talk about all things motherhood. When you're pregnant, you always want to have a friend who's pregnant so that you can talk about the journey, the pregnancy, and all of that. And I used to have those events, and then, you know, life happened. I had my own problems in life. I was not okay, and I stopped with the events. But when I stopped, when I was trying to pick myself up from the hole I was in, I was thinking a lot about where I'm from and where I want to go. And with Mummy Diaries, before the podcast today, I was like, you know, I wish the information and the conversations we used to have when I was having those events, I wish I recorded them. They were somewhere, so I can just post them. And I was like, okay, cool. Maybe let me start a podcast where I can sit down with mothers, because like, obviously the podcast is more fashioning me. So I may be part of the session and start my own podcast. And that's it. And I'm not even worried about, you know, sometimes when you start something, you're worried about the numbers. Are they going to like it? Does it look good? I just started the podcast where mothers, we just sit and talk about motherhood. Gynecologists come on the podcast. So that's how it started, the podcast. But the movement has always been there. It's just that during the break, I had enough time to reflect and think about what is it that I want. And I started the podcast. And with Adulting, it's amazing. Like we spoke about, you know, playing other people and other characters. Her name is Naledi. When I read the brief, I was like, okay, cool. She sounds very interesting. She's also a mother, and she's Mpho's love interest. It was fun to shoot because it's totally different from Scandal. And yeah, I guess more than anything, that's what I want. I wanna act more. I want my business to grow, and I'm praying for everything. Like, I'm just praying for peace more than the older you get, the more you realize everything else is a bonus. Sometimes when you don't have peace. So the older you get, the more you realize that everything else is actually a bonus. Work, cars, nice body, bonus, but like the peace. I pray for peace,
Yeah.
I really want peace and peace in my life. That's all I want. And everything else, I know it will fall into place.
Well, listen, you definitely have the right kind of spirit, and we wish you nothing but the best, the very best. Always a pleasure catching up with you. That was it's a pleasure, honey. Anytime. Award-winning actress and entrepreneur Mapaseka Kwetla joining us, and of course you can catch her every single weekday as she plays the role of Dintle on Scandal. It's just gone 2 o'clock. We're going to take a quick pause here, and then we come back on the other side and we find out more about the latest production, Romeo and Juliet.
Compliments for 2025, Mangani. Call me Mabel Goals because I'm coming for it all this year. Body, relationship, and financial goals. With my Just Invest account, financially I'm cruising. 2 more to go. You know any available Prince Charming voice man?
I've got you, Mabel. Sorry. Mara, you can also be like Mabel and earn up to 8.25% in interest to start the year right. Open yours via the Money app today. See money differently. Nedbank. We're a licensed FSP and registered credit provider. Promo rates apply. Go to nedbank.co.za for more information.
The Toffees are well aware that only maximum points will help them out of the bottom half.
Lewin, great feat, brilliance, absolutely superbly done. Calvert-Lewin for Everton.
Meanwhile, the Foxes believe they are in dire need of victory to run away from trouble.
It's Jordan Ayew, back to goal. Jordan Ayew has scored for Leicester City, and those Leicester fans are celebrating wildly.
This is the Premier League. Experience the superb contest, Everton FC versus Leicester City FC, on Saturday 1 February at 4:30 p.m. live on SABC3. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Hi, my name is Kutlwana Masote, your host of Weekend Sundowner Classics every Saturday and Sunday afternoon between the hours of 4 and 7 p.m. exclusively on SAFM. Now, this is where you get your best classical music jams on any radio platform. Join me every Saturday and Sunday afternoon between 4 and 7 p.m. Weekend Sundowner Classics.
Stages, pages, screens, and more with Bridget Masinga.
He was in the building just the other day, in fact. Kutlwana Masote, very, very talented gentleman, that one, and it's always such a pleasure to listen to a Weekend Sundowner Classics. Also, he's got some interesting things coming up for 2025. I'm not going to steal his thunder, but he's got some interesting live events and experiences that you probably, if you're into classical sounds, then you probably want to make sure that you keep a keen listen to Weekend Sundowner as he tells you what those are. Right now, we are catching up with Uhlobisile Mahlangu, who is an actor and plays the role of Juliet in this production of Romeo and Juliet, which we all know is a timeless tragedy written by the great William Shakespeare. How are you doing this afternoon, Uhlobisile?
Good afternoon, Bridget. Thank you so much for that warm welcome. I'm good, and how are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for taking the time. Much appreciated. So, I mean, I don't know, you'd have to have been born underneath a rock not to be familiar with Romeo and Juliet, even if it was not set reading for you at school. It's a story that a lot of people, everybody, knows.
Definitely. We all know it somehow.
Absolutely. Talk to me about this production, though, of Romeo and Juliet, and also where is it going to be staged?
All right. So this particular one, it came about as a set work. So it was intended to go to schools whereby the kids are studying it, and then just to help them, to grasp it, in a better way, because it's such a dense text. So we believed it would be easier, to digest and really understand it if, they could see it on stage and maybe they could understand better. And, we did that, but then the Joburg Theatre saw the production and they were very excited to bring it on stage So last year we had a run at the Soweto Theatre, and then this year in April and May we're going to be running it at the Joburg Theatre, and I'm super excited.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful stuff indeed. How do kids actually respond to these kinds of set works? I must admit, when I was in high school and we were going through, the works by Shakespeare, very rarely did we ever have sort of engagement with them from a production perspective.
Mm-hmm. Oh man, it's always so exciting how the kids really get excited and they love meeting us and they love asking us questions. It's almost as if the text really comes alive for them and they really start relating to it on a more common level than it just being that classic tragedy by William Shakespeare. So it's almost as if they start to really understand the themes in the story, and it's always so heartwarming to experience.
What's it like? I'm inquisitive, to know what's it like for an actor, and maybe this is a very elementary question to ask an actor, but for an actor to sort of inhabit words by William Shakespeare that are so very foreign to the words that we live in on a daily and to the text that one now engages in contemporary theatre. What is that journey like for you in preparation, in deliverance, and in just bringing to life the complexity of the language of the day?
I think that was what excited me most about working with a William Shakespeare text and, getting into the iambic pentameter and inhabiting it and making it real. It's quite challenging, I will not lie, because you have to know it word for word, otherwise it won't make sense. When you're an actor, if you're working with like normal English, it's easy for you to jump and add your own spice, but with William Shakespeare, you need to know it word for word as it is. And so that was the biggest challenge, I think, for most of us in the production, having to really know it word for word and really like immerse yourself in the role to a point where the language is not too far off from the character itself. So it is quite challenging, but I think it's a good challenge for an actor.
Absolutely, especially for a thespian. So you say April and May is when you guys are going to be at the Joburg Theatre. Do we have opening dates already?
It's the 30th of April, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, we are super excited to have people come through and see the production. We are running all the way until the 11th of May. So yeah, we are super excited to have people filling up Lesedi Theatre at the Joburg Theatre.
No doubt it's going to be jam-packed. Well, listen, we wish you the very best come opening night. Thank you so much for the conversation. That was Hlobisile Mahlangu, and Hlobisile plays the role of Juliet in Romeo and Juliet, which is going to be staged at the Lesedi at the Joburg Theatre. You can always log on to the Joburg Theatre's box office in order for you to secure yourself those tickets. 30th of April is the anticipated opening night, and the production is running all the way through until the 11th of May. When he was here 2 weeks ago, he did allude to the fact that he's doing a lot of incredible things with the theatres of Joburg. And in the conversations that we've had since then, we can absolutely see that he was not lying at all. And of course, I'm talking about the artistic director of the theatres of Joburg, James Ngobo, who teased us without really giving us much of anything. And he just said we must look forward to a really robust and colourful year of new productions and old productions and thought-provoking productions and everything in between. So he's definitely keeping to his word. It is 10 to 2 o'clock. We're going to take a quick pause and then we come back and we get into another conversation with Conrad Koch, who is, of course, a comedian, and hopefully he's brought his best friend Chester Missing along for this conversation, but we'll see how that goes.
During Ford Blue Sky offers, you can get a new Ford Territory Ambiente from just $6,199 per month, including our optional service plan. 10% deposit, primeless 5.25%, 40% residual. Visit your trusted Ford dealer today for Blue Sky offers where our Ford family guarantee comes standard. Limited time offer while stocks last. T&Cs apply.
The Toffees are well aware that only maximum points will help them out of the bottom half.
Lewin, great feat, brilliance, absolutely superbly done. Calvert-Lewin for Everton.
Meanwhile, the Foxes believe they are in dire need of victory to run away from trouble.
It's Jordan Ayew, back to goal. Jordan Ayew has scored for Leicester City, and those Leicester fans are celebrating wildly.
This is the Premier League. Experience the superb contest, Everton FC versus Leicester City FC, on Saturday 1 February at 4:30 p.m. live on SABC3. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The SAFM Playwriting Competition is closing on the 3rd of February 2025. Explore the theatre of the mind and write your 60-minute radio drama play and email it before 5 p.m. on the 3rd of February 2025. Late submissions will not be accepted. For further information about the competition, visit safm.co.za or send an email to drama@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversations that move us. Stages, pages, screens and more with Bridget Masinga.
A quick catch-up with South Africa's double international Emmy-nominated and multi-award-winning comedy ventriloquist Conrad Koch. And of course, he's been on tour with his razor-sharp puppet Chester Missing. And they set to come to Cape Town for the final leg of what has been a very successful tour. And it's coming to the theatre on the Bay in Cape Town this February. Conrad Koch and Chester Missing bring the laughs with Despicable He. How are you doing this afternoon, Conrad?
Hey, Bridget. Thanks for having me on the show, and I'm sure Chester will come now. He's busy tweeting at people. Great. Very well, thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time. Listen, when I saw that you were on the show today, it came to mind that, wait, with all the sort of activities that have been going on in the country politically over the last 12 months, one voice that I've missed was that of Chester. So were you guys just busy on the tour and forgot about us? Did we lose Conrad? Oh, technology has a way of just coming through and doing the most. I don't know if it's the anticipated load shedding that seems to be at play in some parts of the country, or it's just a network connection issue at the moment. But we're trying to... there we go. We've got Conrad back. Yes, we've got you back.
Sorry, Bridget. Just knocked the phone out my hand. We're in Australia, so it's been chaos. He's been running around annoying kangaroos.
No, understood. Oh, is this why you guys have been... I was saying, with everything that's been going on with the elections and the GNU and everything else in between, we've been missing your voice, and we've also been missing the voice of Chester. So you guys have been on tour this entire time.
Well, no, in South Africa. So we took a break from doing hard politics for a few months at the beginning. We did a Comedy Central show called Democracy, which was live with Kagiso Lidika.
Oh, the line...
a roast of South Africa.
The line is breaking for us, Conrad. Sorry there for a second. The line is breaking for us, and as we heard Conrad saying that he is traveling at the moment. So just looking at the time and trying to see... we've got 6 minutes to the top of the hour, and by the time we manage to get that line reconnected again, 5 minutes now, by the time we manage to get that line reconnected, it will be 4 minutes to the top of the hour. So we're probably just going to have to rejig our clock a little bit on the other side of 2 o'clock and see if we can't fit in this conversation. But yeah, so as the ladies try to work it out in the background, see when we can reschedule or move it to after 2, and try in the meantime to get a better connection. That connection really just breaking and really being terrible at the moment. And casting our eyes to the news and remembering that yesterday we got both the good and the bad, because we got a repo cut of 25-point basis, but then we've got an electricity hike of 12.7% courtesy of Eskom. What a wowzer, you know. So we got to smile for 5 seconds, and then that smile was swiftly wiped out from our faces. It's interesting, right? Experts are actually saying that electricity prices have risen somewhere around 927% since 2007. Make it make sense in our world that electricity has risen over 900%, and yet we still don't really have electricity. And just the other day we were celebrating, I think we crossed the 200-day mark, almost a year, if not 300-day mark. I can't remember because they've been counting down, the Minister of Electricity. And we were all celebrating him, and it was his birthday. And we were all wishing him well. We were saying, this is the one minister that deserves to dance to his heart's content because he's kept the lights on. And then jiggy, a lot of communities have been having light problems for the last week, 2 weeks even, or probably since December. I know folks who live in Gauteng, in the four-way side, there's been consistent electricity cuts over the last couple of weekends that have run not only but 1 day but 2 days and gone on into 3 days with very little explanation from Eskom as to what is going on. So hopefully we don't go back to the days of load shedding. But yes, a lot of people had put their hopes on NERSA, the independent regulator, to halt that increase by Eskom, and they say they did their best by only agreeing to a 12.7% electricity hike. I think it's going to be split, though, into 2025 and 2026. Nonetheless, we are definitely going to feel it in our pockets. But hey, it is what it is at this point in time, right? We're going to come back on the other side of 2 o'clock. We're going to catch up with Emmy Award-winning actress Lerato Mvelase is going to be joining us, and we're going to catch up with her as well as the folks from the Mandela Rhodes Foundation and find out what the foundation has been up to these days. But for now, let's just take a quick break, and then we'll come back with the top of the hour news.
Every person, no matter who you are, what music you're inclined to listen to, and what you do with your weekends, you need a weekend playlist. It's that musical mix of music that accompanies the lazy weekends, whether catching up with friends and family or just taking some time to reflect. Tune in to The Soundtrack of Your Life with me, Ernest Pillay, Saturdays and Sundays, 1 to 4 on SAFM.
If you're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation.
SAFM has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Under the code, we are committed to giving news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that is not harmful, does not amount to hate speech, or contain violence or explicit sex. If you think we are not living up to that code, then you can inform the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. Direct any complaints in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission of South Africa. PO Box 142365, Craig Hall 2024. Fax to 011-326-3198 or an email to bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more information, please visit www.bccsa.co.za.
Top stories at 2. M23 rebels leader comment on DRC conflict and 2 Mpumalanga schools closed over poor infrastructure. Good afternoon, I'm Kolofelo Defo. The conflict in eastern DRC is expected to top the agenda of the SADC Heads of State and Government Extraordinary Meeting in Harare, Zimbabwe today. It is not clear whether the Democratic Republic of Congo's President Felix Tshisekedi will attend the meeting. President Cyril Ramaphosa will lead the South African delegation to the meeting, which comes after 13 South African soldiers were killed in fierce fighting with M23 rebels in eastern DRC. Meanwhile, rebel leader Corneille Nangaa has reacted to accusations that Rwanda backs them.
When you say Rwanda is supporting you, Rwanda is supporting you, this is one of the Kinshasa propaganda to hide the bad governance has been doing so far. When you look at the MONUSCO contingencies, you have about 10 or even more citizenship. They are all in Congo, and they are saying that we are Rwanda just because some of us speak the same language like Rwanda. We are Congolese. What are those people doing in Congo? The reason is because there is a failure of state.
The poor state of local government in the northwest is topping the agenda of a summit that the Provincial Executive Committee has organized in Potchefstroom. The local government summit is taking place before the provincial Lekgotla, which is expected to be held from Sunday to Monday. Municipalities such as Ditsobotla, Tswaing and Mamusa are among those that are failing to pay their workers. Many municipalities in the province are dysfunctional. ANC Provincial Chairperson Nono Maloi says the aim of the summit is to address the needs of Northwest residents.
The purpose of this summit is to put our heads together and say what is it that we need to do as employees of the African National Congress, but secondly as servants of the people, to ensure that we attend to the needs of our people in the Northwest Province. You will recall that last year we did speak about challenges that we are facing, whether it's potholes, challenges of water, street lights that are not working, and so on. So we are doing that assessment.
2 primary schools in Masoi near Hazy View, Mpumalanga, remain closed due to the poor condition of the infrastructure. Parents whose children are enrolled at the Masoi and Lehohoto primary schools have shut down the schools since Monday. Teachers and learners are locked out of their schools in an attempt to force government to address the infrastructure challenges. The parents have called on the Provincial Education Department to engage with them directly. The parents are concerned about the state of the classrooms. This is what they had to say.
As you can see, many people are angry because we're not getting any feedback from them. They don't even send one person who's coming from the department to show us that they care about us. So the parents and the people are angry. We're going to close until they send someone here to come and talk to us about what's going on.
We are concerned about the learners of the other school that we have closed. But definitely we can't celebrate the other schools. Why? There's one school that is struggling. Can you imagine when the ceiling is falling, when the learners are in the class? So if you can subject this one school, if you leave the other school and focus on this only one, the department won't take it serious. We've been preaching this thing from Monday to year, and it's years. This school is from 1972. Can you imagine?
Meanwhile, the Mpumalanga Education Department has called on parents to desist from disrupting schooling. The department's spokesperson, Gerald Sambo, says they are working around the clock to address the school infrastructure challenges.
There is quite a lot that we are doing to address these challenges, and there are instances where there are projects where we are building new schools, there are projects where we are refurbishing schools, and there are instances where we're actually doing away with challenges of toilets in the schools. But what we can indicate is that parents should not stop learners from going to school should there be anything that they want to engage the department with, because our doors are open. Let them come to us, let us indicate to them the plans that we are having.
And finally, Acting Director General in the Science and Innovation Department, Gugule Tuzwane, is expected to lead a delegation to the launch of Prime Focus Infrared Microlensing Experiment, or PRIME in short, telescope in the Northern Cape this afternoon. The PRIME telescope is a cutting-edge 1.8 meter wide infrared instrument. It was built through the collaborative efforts of the South African Astronomical Observatory, Japan and the US. The telescope's new infrared capabilities will help position the country among global astronomical researchers. Recapping the top story this hour, the conflict in Eastern DRC is expected to top the agenda of the SADC Heads of State and Government Extraordinary Meeting in Harare, Zimbabwe today. It is not clear whether the Democratic Republic of Congo's President Felix Tshisekedi will attend the meeting. Headlines at 2:30 for SAFM News. I'm Kolofelo Defo.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 106.6 FM in Bloemfontein.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
The Toffees are well aware that only maximum points will help them out of the bottom half.
Lewin, great feat, brilliance, absolutely superbly done. Calvert-Lewin for Everton.
Meanwhile, the Foxes believe they are in dire need of victory to run away from trouble.
It's Jordan Ayew, back to goal. Jordan Ayew scored for Leicester City, and those Leicester fans are celebrating wildly.
This is the Premier League. Experience the superb contest, Everton FC versus Leicester City FC, on Saturday 1 February at 4:30 p.m. live on SABC3. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Our story is a South African story.
Anchored in the belief that it takes all of us to build a country that thrives.
To educate our children for a brighter future. To care for our health and well-being.
To nurture our environment to sustain future generations. And to transform and build a stronger nation.
When no one is left behind. Inspiring each other to succeed. Anglo-American.
amandla bengizodiliza intaba zingisithela wena buya sengiyazwela buya njalo mayeshona malanga nginethemba uzobuya ngathi ngiyazikhohlisa nasiphela insuku zedlula sithando sami ngiyakhumbula uyaphela ngikulingishe phakade lami akuphile nawena ulini ngikhumbule wenza ingqondo yami izulele waze wakude sobuya nini ngibone it's like I'm in a paradise. Ukuba nawe uvela kuthi mangizusha imoto ngiyolanda aliwe sokale ngifuna ngibambe masuari ba chakuodareni usuku bonke zangilale usuku zangilale samasame ilangazela we gabe wena uzoya mina nangaze ukuba nawe akadela kabuphile nawe na ulini ngikhumbule wenza ingqondo yami izulele waze wakude sobuya nini ngibone phakade lami kabuphile nawe na ulini ngikhumbule wenza ingqondo yami izulele.
It is Nomfundo Mo coming through. Phakade Lami is the name of this particular one, and it is the third single from her debut album Amagama. It actually went on to earn double platinum, that particular album. Just gone 2:10 on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga on SAFM, leading the conversations that move the nation as we wrap things up. Okay, so we've decided that we are going to reschedule perhaps when Conrad Koch is back in the country, that conversation, because that line was really, really bad. So we're going to reschedule that conversation for a later date. For now, though, we're catching up with Emmy Award-winning, Emmy-nominated South African actress. She's an actress. She's a voice-over artiste, multi-talented. Right now, actually, she's on the cover of a glossy. I'm just trying to remember which one it is, with her beautiful daughters. And it came out not too recently. Yes, they're on the cover of Bona magazine. How are you doing, Lerato Mvelase?
Bridget Masinga, how are you doing? I'm good.
I'm good. Thank you very, very much for taking the time. We appreciate it. Congratulations on the cover of Bona with your two girls. They are so beautiful.
Thank you so
They
much.
are so grown. They're so tall.
Right?
They're
Big
almost as
girls.
tall as you.
Yeah, big girls. I mean, my oldest is 18 next week.
Oh, wow.
Right?
You have an 18-year-old.
A whole 18-year-old.
Imagine. Okay, let's talk about that. Let's talk about being a mom to two little girls as they go through these life transitions. Because I can imagine parenting an 18-year-old is very different from parenting a 6-year-old girl.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, the beauty about this generation, they are allowed to challenge us, you know, which helps us grow, helps us evolve, and helps transform how we see the world and see our relationship with our children, how we see ourselves. So my children have brought that like a new way of seeing life. You know, they challenge me about relationships, how I see men, how I see friendships, how I see them as, you know, individuals. So it's been like a fun journey, and now I'm not dealing with a child anymore. I'm going to be dealing with an adult from next week. So the conversations are very different, you know. So it's been such a very interesting season for myself and my children. You know, having to now not see my oldest as a child.
Yeah.
You know, to seeing her as a young woman. You know, who's got her own opinions, her own thoughts, her own wants in life. She's deciding on what she wants to study, where she wants to live, and I can't make that decision anymore. You know, I just have to be there and be that supportive mom who can only guide, you know, and offer support. So it's fun times. It's fun times.
I was actually going to ask you, you know, how are you managing to transition from that role of mom? And I think this is something that has become, I'm not a mom yet, but this is something that has become awakened to me. Just, you know, listening to professionals and mothers and experts talk about the ability to transition from being a mom in those earlier years where your primary job as a parent is to nurture, to guide, to make sure that they are alive and that they are safe. And, you know, you pretty much dictate how their lives must be, right? But then the older you get and they become more independent, more self-sufficient, more self-thinking, you as a parent have to then transition into a more consultative role, which seems to be very difficult for most parents.
It is very difficult because these are your babies, you know, and they will always be your babies. And because you have your own experience of the world, you fear for them, you know. I mean, if most parents just want to keep their children at home if they could, you know, but, you know, you have to understand that at some point it's not about you anymore, you know, and I guess some parents really struggle with that, you know. That's why they are too involved in their children's issues. They want to know everything. They want to know where they're going, who they're with. But I had to slowly start letting go, especially with my oldest one, you know, where I have to trust that. In fact, it's a conversation I had with her. She made me aware that, Mama, you don't trust me. You know, you don't trust how you've raised me. And I had to take a minute and really take it in and think about, oh, my gosh, I have done a great job. And she's like, trust that you've done a great job with me. I know what's right. I know what's wrong. And I know when I need help. You know, I don't need you hovering over me every 5 minutes with everything that I do or decide not to do. I can make my own decisions because you've done a great job. And I think from that conversation, it became a little easier, you know, to release the grip. It's not completely, you know, I don't completely let go, but it becomes easier to release the grip because our children are so... They're wiser than we ever could be, you know. They are very self-aware. They are emotionally aware of themselves. They are mentally aware of themselves. And because they live in a world that allows them to express, a child is able to tell you, you've done a great job. You can let go. You trust that everything that I'm going to be doing from now on, you've contributed, and it's enough. Allow me now to have my own self-discovery, you know, with the base that you've already set for me. So that's what we can do, and just pray for our children, you know, that when they go out there in the world, what you've given them is enough, you know, to sustain them and make them better people.
Absolutely. I want to pause here quickly, Lerato, for a little bit of a break, a commercial break, and then we'll come back on the other side and continue our conversation with a South African award-winning actress. She's featured in the likes of SABC One's drama series Home Affairs, in which she was part of the cast from 2005 to 2009. Amongst that, she's also been on Home Sweet Home, which was an S2 production. Really, she's got a very long list of credits, and it would take us the whole day to get through all of them. But Lerato Mvelase joins us today for a quick catch-up. It is The Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga.
Life is too short for long-term grudges, but when it's the Soweto Derby, hey, my daughter, I pay. Black and white confronts golden black. The Buccaneers believe yonke indawo ibhakabhaka liyaphumelela. While Amakhosi still emphasize ikhosi alipheli umoya. Experience Mzansi's biggest football rivalry, Orlando Pirates versus Kaizer Chiefs, on Saturday, 1 February at 2 p.m. live on SABC1 and at 3:30 p.m. on SABC radio stations. Also available at your fingertips on SABC Plus. Proudly brought to you by SABC Sport.
For the love of the game.
Mom. Yeah? Look, a golden pencil.
Wow, where'd you get that?
My Buco pencil case. I could win a bike and vouchers, and my school gets 20,000 Rand.
That's so cool. The Buco Golden Pencil Initiative. 9 lucky learners will find a golden pencil in their Buco pencil cases, winning big prizes and school refurbishments. Buco, building communities one golden moment at a time. Begin with Buco.
Buco.
Hi, I'm Zycard. Catch me every Saturday from 7 to 9 p.m. on Spotlight as we bring you blow-by-blow sporting action news. That's Spotlight every Saturday. You don't want to miss it.
Arts, culture, and robust conversations with Bridget Masinga.
All right, we are catching up with actress and voice-over artist, multi-talented woman. Lerato Velasi joins us now. Actually, if we rewind back to around 2006, when Home Affairs was the regional finalist in the drama category at the International Emmys, and then in 2007 was nominated as a semi-finalist in the Best Drama Series category for the International Emmy Awards. And if memory serves, weren't you the first to be nominated for an Emmy?
I was the second in 2010.
In 2010.
I was nominated. Yeah, mine wasn't. I think before that it was Brenda.
Okay.
I think around 2008, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 years later it was myself.
I see. Brenda Noli and then you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I mean, listen, a great group of alumni to be put in there.
Right.
I must admit. What does that feel like when you get sort of, firstly, what does it come as an email or a phone call, or an agent calls you into the office and says, Lerato, let's have tea, I've got news?
Well, it came as an email and I was on set when it came. So the email was sent through the night before, and I got onto set and I'm busy shooting, and then my agent says, check your emails, and I open my email and I'm like, what does this mean? I mean, at that time, as much as we knew what the Emmys were, they were just so distant from us, right? It's something that happens in that world, because there was no social media at that time. The world, or at least the sector, felt so far from other parts of the world.
Yeah.
And it's just so beautiful to see how everything has come so much closer. Like, the Emmys are just yet other awards that we can be part of, that we've got to experience, and we're still going to continue being part of. So yeah, it was such a beautiful feeling, at that time for me, because I mean, I was like, I was in my 20s, late 20s, when I was nominated. I didn't know what it meant. It was my first ever nomination. So it came with a lot of, I was expecting so many things from it. I thought, oh my God, Hollywood, here I come. I was ready to pack and go, but it was such a beautiful experience, because it got me to see how big our careers are, the potential of us touching the world.
Absolutely.
And it's just beautiful to see that it's actually happening now, and I'm grateful that I'm still around to witness it.
Absolutely. As you sort of reflect on that moment, and we key about it, but in fact, nominations, besides even getting the award, but being nominated at that scale, in part shows a recognition, obviously, by industry peers of the greatness of your work, but also should reflect that by way of remuneration and the kind of work that a person thereafter, gets thereafter. And I wonder, in the context of South Africa, you know, how true to measure is that assumption, or how disappointing is it?
I mean, it is very disappointing because you being nominated for any award doesn't really translate into anything really besides the fact that you're being recognized, you know, which is beautiful to experience, but it doesn't translate to your rate as an actor.
Yeah.
It doesn't translate to the roles that are coming forth. It doesn't translate to your bank accounts,
Yeah.
you know, being active. It doesn't translate into anything other than the fact that I can be on an interview with you and say I was nominated for you know, whatever award. So it's, I mean, our industry still has potential to grow. There is room. A lot of growth is needed in terms of how the industry is structured and how the sustainability of actors is considered, or creatives in general.
Yeah.
You know, especially their financial sustainability. You know, so we are in that era now where those kind of conversations, they don't just have to be about what could we do, what can we do, what must happen. We've had those conversations. Now it's really time for real change, you know, and it starts at the top. You know, once we get that regulation out there and there's policies that help us run the industry, it will make things easier. You know, a Bridget Masinga comes on set, you know that your negotiation for yourself starts at a certain rate because of your experience.
Yeah.
You have Ntati Mushesh who comes on set, she doesn't have to argue about what her rate is. You know, we know her minimum is this much, you know, and she can negotiate higher, but nothing less than.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of audiences don't understand about the industry. We don't have contracts that come with a standard fee, you know, where we know if you've been working for 4 years, you're guaranteed your 10 rand.
A baseline, yeah.
No, there is nothing like that. You know, you could still be negotiating rates that you had in 2010 when you were 27 years old, 29 years old.
With very little on your resume.
Absolutely. You know, so it's you know, I'm just happy that we're still young enough to be able to sit in rooms and have conversations, and hopefully real change will come, because this generation should not be experiencing anything that I've experienced.
Absolutely. You know, I often say at times putting oneself in target when you say that creative sectors should have a baseline measure like every other industry. You know, you're looking for a marketer with 3 to 5 years experience, who's got experience in, you know, outdoor, below the line. You're looking for a marketer with a degree. So the salary starts here for that person. And then everything is icing on the top, dependent, as you say, on that person's
how
experience.
You're able to negotiate for yourself.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So, and these industries need that kind of step forward. Do you think the conversation is now, because also a lot of the criticism from creatives have been that we've never had anyone in the ministry that understands these sectors outside of sport. All they seem to be preoccupied about is sport, and the portfolio says sport, arts, and culture.
Yes.
Do you think that tide is turning a little bit now, or perhaps we should just still apply a wait-and-see process?
It is a wait-and-see process, because the conversations that are being had, Bridget, it's conversations that I heard as I entered the industry, and I was still quite young. I was still in my 20s when I entered the industry. Those conversations are still happening in 2025. And for me, I guess it's a matter of, I want to see real change. And that change will not come until actors themselves or creatives themselves put themselves in spaces where they can have conversation. They can be the decision makers. They can be the real change. Because if as somebody who comes from marketing has to now be the minister of arts and culture, for example, they have no clue what you and I go through. They don't understand it. In fact, it might even sound like, oh, these actors, they like drama, you know, they want attention. But we've got real problems. You know, you've got somebody who owns a house, and they're not guaranteed that they'll be able to pay for that house.
Yeah.
You've got somebody who's got a family. They're not guaranteed that they'll be able to take care of their families. And that's the reality of actors in this country. And I suppose that's why, for me, it was important to go back to school so that I can put myself in a position to be in those rooms. You know, I'm raising my hand now and I'm saying, I'm legible. I'm present. and I'm qualified, and everything that I'm about to do is on merit. You know, it's not just another actress who's, you know, because, you know, when you walk into a room with people that speak business, it doesn't matter how passionate we are about the industry. It doesn't matter how hurt we are about the industry. We still need to engage with them on the level they understand. We must understand what it means to be a business. And you know, we'll see what happens. You know, I've gone back to school. I'm done. Let's see what the next level is.
Absolutely. Well, listen, Mama, we've fast run out of time this afternoon, but, you know, we could engage you in conversation forever in a day. Congratulations on everything that's come out this summer, from the Mabaso family reunion, the funeral, which came out during the summer holidays, of course. And I know school is going well. So I know this, and she comes from a very academic, creative family, because the two can coincide. So she's doing the most. An MBA candidate for 2024, and I'm tracking that and wishing you the very, very best, because I know it's a lot on your plate, being a mom, being a working mom, and still going back to school for an MBA, no less. Thank you so much for the time today. Much appreciated.
Go, Bridget. Can I just ask all your listeners, please get tickets for the piano lesson at the Joburg Theatre from the 28th of February to the 16th of March. It is going to blow you guys away.
Well, we had James the other day, and he said that you guys are doing a stellar job at rehearsal, so we'll definitely be there. That was Lerato Velase coming through. 2:30. It's time for us to catch up with the headline news.
Thanks. In the headlines this hour, the Hawks National Head Lieutenant General Godfrey Sibeya says Northwest tops their list of arrests made. This as illegal mining remains among the top serious organized crime in the country. Still in the same province of the Northwest, ANC Provincial Chairperson Nono Maloyi says some of the dysfunctional municipalities might be disestablished. Municipalities such as Ditsobotla, Tswaying and Mamusa, amongst others, have been struggling to pay salaries of their employees. And the conflict in Eastern DRC tops the agenda of the SADC Heads of State and Government Extraordinary Meeting in Harare, Zimbabwe today. Details at 3.
Ever since Uspilion won 5,000 rand, 5 tower on Wheel of Fortune, he only wears white push-in sandals. Star white, Baba. And he owns 10 identical pairs. Before he did not even know the Queen's language. Now, Kalabo, wow. Chance. Let's watch Wheel of Fortune weekdays, Monday to Friday at 7:30 on S3, and see how one spin changed Spillion's life and how it can change ours as well. In just one day.
Santam can cover your car in just 2 minutes. That's faster than scrolling through your streaming app, choosing a show, then deciding against it to rewatch another show because you didn't want to start without your partner and sit through the awkward "I started without you" chat. Get your car covered in just 2 minutes so you can live in the moment, not in the worry. Visit santam.co.za. Santam. This is freedom. Santam is an authorized FSP, a licensed non-life insurer and controlling company for its group companies.
This program is brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives.
SABC Education, in partnership with the Department of Health and Ilifa Labantwana, bring you episode 9 of the side-by-side drama, season 4, focused on contraceptives and dual protection methods.
Say and say, side by side.
Singama Africa Kenya you Tina Singama Africa Kenya you Tina Singama Africa Kenya.
Joyce, the porridge. It's boiling over.
Sorry, Mama.
Where's your head these days? I just have a lot on my plate at the moment.
Then you must take a break. Retabile needs you.
Tabi is fine, Mama. I'm not neglecting her or anything.
And Sakumzi?
He's fine too.
Is he, really?
What's that supposed to mean?
Steps told me that Sakumzi said that you don't want any more children.
Now the whole world knows my personal matters.
But what's wrong with more children?
Ma, that's a discussion for me and my husband to have.
But I'm your mother. Eh? And if something is bothering you, Mtanam, I must know. Is he abusing you?
No, Mama, he would never.
Then why won't you give him a child?
Ma, it's really a matter between me and Usakumzi. I don't know why he had to go and complain with Upra Steps.
It seems you've left your men no choice. Why don't you and Sakumzi book a getaway? Then you two can spend more time together. Who knows? Maybe in a few months, there'll be some pitter-pitter sounds around the house. Eh?
That will never happen.
Never say never, Mtanam.
I'm using contraceptives, Mama.
Haibo, contraceptives in a marriage.
It's about empowerment, Ma. Choosing when and how many children to have. It helps in managing family resources and giving each child proper care.
I see your point. But doesn't it go against our way of life? Our tradition?
Traditions are important, but so is progress. Contraception gives us control over our reproductive health. It reduces the risk of unintended pregnancies, and it allows for better family planning.
Aye. Don't lecture me. Huh?
I'm not lecturing, Ma. I'm just saying.
Yo! Times have changed.
For the better, Mama. Even though I'm married, this is still my body.
Sure.
Where it began, I can't begin to know it.
Hi. Are you here for an appointment, Kanya? I can't remember the last time you made one. Yo?
No, I'm just here to drop off Lorato's scarf. Thanks, girl.
No problem, May. Did you get to go and have your picnic?
I haven't had a chance yet.
Kanya, are you coping?
With what?
You've been quiet lately. How are you really doing?
Why don't you just sit down and I'll give you a little makeover, Kanya?
It's fine. I don't have money on me.
It's on the house, girl. And no offense, but that hair of yours, it's in a crisis.
Thanks for the offer, but
Kanya, you have to. You have to make time for yourself.
Self-care, Nyana, it's important. How?
B, self-care feels like a luxury I can't afford. There's just no time.
But Kanya, it's necessary. Even a few minutes a day. It can make a difference. Take a walk, read a book, anything that gives you just a break so you can breathe.
Maybe you're right. I don't want to fail Amanda.
Kanya, does she need you right now?
No, she's at crèche right now.
Are you working today?
No, I have the morning off.
Come, sit down. Let Mama B take care of you.
Okay, B.
Now, let me see. What are we going to do with this hair of yours? Yo! Joyce, can you hand me those bandages?
Here you go.
No, the bandages.
Oh, sorry, Pilis.
You seem distracted.
I had a clash with my mom about contraception.
For who?
For me.
Contraceptives are about giving you birth control. They empower you to make decisions about your body and the future.
That's just it. My mother and Sakumzi, they don't see it my way. They think I'm being selfish, but I really enjoy my work and caring for the community.
Well, it's a tough situation, but it's your right to choose when to have children. It's about balance, understanding, and respecting each other's views in a relationship.
But why does it feel like I'm forced to choose between my career and a child? Why aren't men forced to make this decision? It's not fair.
I hear you, Joyce. I really hear you.
Singama Africa Kenya you Tina Singama Africa Kenya you Tina Singama Africa Kenya
Asibambisana Zinina Zini Ayikomaneni Haraswarani Say and say Side by side.
Good afternoon. You're listening to Side by Side right here on SAFM, and welcome. We're here to celebrate the fact that you're the most important person in your child's life. We know that raising children is a difficult thing, and we want to support you on the journey with good information, advice from our good experts, and a lot of information that you'll really need. This show is brought to you by the National Department of Health, Ilifa Labantwana, and the SABC Education. Today we're talking about contraceptives and dual protection methods. We heard from our drama episode yesterday how Nespiliswa discussed the importance of understanding and using contraceptives correctly to prevent unintended pregnancies and protect ourselves against sexually transmitted infections. Joining us today to talk about the importance of contraceptives and dual protection methods is Ms. Tebogo Mabubula from City of Johannesburg Health Department. Thank you, Ms. Mabubula, for joining us today. Dual protection methods, what are they and why are they so important?
A dual contraception method refers to the use of two forms of contraception simultaneously to achieve a maximum protection against both unintended pregnancy and sexually transmitted infection. The most common example is the use of condoms along with the method of your choice. So a condom will act as a barrier and it will give you protection against the risk of STIs, and the method of your choice can be either an implant, an IUD, or injectables.
When selecting the most suitable contraceptive method, what are the several important factors to keep in mind?
Choosing the right contraceptive method involves several considerations, which are effectiveness. Different methods have varying levels of effectiveness, like the long-acting reversible contraceptives, which are the IUD or the implant, are more effective. While condoms and birth control pills, they require you consistent and the correct use of it. Lifestyle. You need to consider how a method fits into your daily routine. For instance, if you don't want to think about contraception during the day, the best method for you will be an implant or an IUCD. Health conditions. Some contraceptives may not be suitable for the individual with certain health conditions. So it's important to discuss your medical history with a healthcare provider so that you are able to choose a safe method. Side effects, you have to be aware of potential side effects. Some methods do cause side effects like weight gain, mood changes, or menstrual irregularities. Understanding this can help in making an informed choice. Protection against STI. If the intention is to protect against STI, then you know that you have to use your condom. Future fertility plans. Consider your plans for having children in the future. Some methods are easily reversible, while others, like sterilization, are permanent.
Postpartum control is advised for several important reasons. Why is it recommended?
If you are not using a birth control method, it is possible to get pregnant very soon after having a baby. Using a birth control method weeks after you have a baby helps you to avoid an unintended pregnancy and lets you plan your family. Many experts have recommended waiting at least 18 months between pregnancies before having another baby. If you are not breastfeeding, ovulation will occur within few weeks after childbirth. If you are breastfeeding, ovulation may be delayed, but it usually returns in about 6 months. Once ovulation occurs, you can get pregnant again. Ovulation usually occurs 2 weeks before your menstrual period starts. This means that you can get pregnant even if you have not had a period.
So, Miss Mabubula, is it safe for new moms who are breastfeeding to use contraceptives?
Yes, if you are breastfeeding, you can safely use hormonal method. They won't hurt you or your baby. Ask your healthcare worker on the option you can take. You may be able to get an implant or an IUD at the clinic or at the hospital at your postpartum checkup. Remember, Implanon and IUD are super effective and prevent pregnancy for several years. They are a set it and forget it birth control. You can get use of your birth control app to keep track of your insertion date and removal date. For the first 3 weeks after giving birth, don't use a method that has a hormone estrogen, like the pills such as Nodet or Trifacil, a patch, or a ring. But after 3 weeks, you can start any of these methods.
What alternatives to hormonal methods are available for me to consider?
You can safely use a non-hormonal birth control while breastfeeding. For up to the first 6 months after your baby is born, you can rely on breastfeeding as a birth control if you have not gotten your period yet and are not feeding your baby formula or food, meaning that you have to be exclusively breastfeeding for the first 6 months. The other method is copper IUD, which is the most effective birth control method out there, and it lasts for 5 years. It is a pretty convenient option if you don't want to add a birth control to the list of things you have to remember. Other non-hormonal birth control options are condoms, or you can speak to a healthcare worker about any available option.
Thank you, Ms. Mabubula, for joining us today. Any closing comments?
If you don't want to become pregnant soon after having your baby, choose an effective method of contraception. It is easy to fall pregnant soon after giving birth, but remember to always use dual contraception. Your choice of contraception after giving birth will depend on whether and how often you are breastfeeding and how suitable various methods are.
What an insightful conversation. I hope you learned something new. Before we end today's episode, it's competition time. Side by Side would like to thank you for tuning in weekly on our program by giving away a cash prize of 1,000 Rand on our last program of the month. To stand a chance of winning, leave your name and number on our social media direct messages and share the Side by Side post on Facebook, Instagram, and X using the handle @SAFM Radio. And you could be our lucky listener who will receive a call and be asked one easy question. If you get it right, you win yourself 1,000 Rand. For more information, visit the Side by Side social media platforms and SAFM Radio. Today's lucky listener is Pam from Cape Town. Let's give her a call.
Hello.
Hi Pam, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm calling you from the Side by Side team at SAFM.
Oh, okay.
And I believe you've been listening to Side by Side ever since it started on SAFM, right?
Yes, I have, my darling. I have.
So I've got a question for you. If you get it right, you win yourself 1,000 Rand. And if you don't, unfortunately, we'll go to the next listener.
Oh, my word. Okay. All right. Let's go for it.
Okay, so your question is it safe for new moms to use contraceptives after giving birth?
Okay. Yes, it is safe. And it can be done immediately after giving birth. For any mom that doesn't want to get pregnant and have another child just after giving birth.
I've got good news. You just won yourself 1,000 Rand.
Yay! Oh my word, you've made my January. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pam, and continue listening to Side by Side on SAFM, okay?
Definitely. Thank you so much.
If you would like to win yourself 1,000 Rand like Pam, Continue listening to Side by Side, and who knows, you could be our lucky listener. And thank you for listening to Side by Side, the show that supports you to give your child the best possible start in life. Brought to you by the National Department of Health, Ilifa la Bantwana, and the SABC Education. Join the conversation with other caregivers on our Facebook page at Side by Side SA and look out for more great content. Join us again same time next week when we'll be talking about TB, your child, and your family.
Side by Side.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives. The Chill Zone with Bertha Charuma.
This trend is going to undo marriage, where people just feel, look, let's just stay together and let's not sign no document.
You know, one of the things in my observation that I've learned over the years is that probably a lot of people don't understand the options that they have in terms of marital contracts, number one. And I think a lot of people have gotten into marital contracts that may not have been favorable. And I think we learn from those that have done it before us. So therefore, we choose not to go that route.
Queen Malovane, Provincial General Manager at Metropolitan.
Bertha Charuma. Fridays, 8 p.m. to 12 a.m. You are listening to The Full Circle.
In the final 10 minutes of the show, we're catching up with CEO of the Mandela Rhodes Foundation, Judy Sikuza, joins us on the line. And we are talking about the foundation's newly launched podcast series that is designed to offer an intimate look at the journeys of remarkable African leaders. How are you doing this afternoon, Judy?
Good afternoon, Bridget. I am feeling very grounded and excited to be in conversation. How are you?
I'm fabulous. Thank you so much, and thank you for taking the time. Much, much appreciated. I mean, a lot of people obviously familiar with the work of the Mandela Rhodes Foundation, but perhaps for those who might not be, a little background and a little context to the importance of the foundation.
Of course. So we are one of the 3 legacy foundations that Madiba established, and our core purpose is to build the next generation of Mandelas for the continent. So how we do that is we offer postgraduate funding to students from any African country to come and study in South Africa, but the core facet of our offering is the leadership development program, where they get to meet and engage as these young people from across the continent and get those crucial leadership skills that are relevant to actually transform our continent for the better.
There's been a sort of a conscious mobilization now towards achieving that precise goal. Harnessing the leaders of tomorrow that will serve to sort of present the solutions to Africa's problems. From your perspective and the work that you do, what is lacking in that conversation, or what is lacking sort of on the ground when it comes to harnessing leaders that become relevant to their respective nations in various ways?
It's a very good question. So what we've been observing in our work in the past 21 years is there are sort of 2 key facets to how you build the leaders that we need for today. The first is giving them the technical competency, right? So through, studying an honors or a master's degree in whatever field they're in, people need to sort of understand what are the emerging dynamics in that sector. But then the second and most important is the inner development goals required to achieve, right, those external facets, because we often focus on the SDG component, which is let's solve climate change, let's solve health issues. But why are we not getting there? We have the technology, we have AI, we have the knowledge, and we realize the second component is the inner development goals, those crucial leadership skills that actually move us to achieving these challenges. So those are sort of for us those 2 facets of give people skills to critically analyze, understand innovation, collaborate, have humility, have the ability to be self-aware, to understand that you alone will not bring the solution, but if you collaborate with other people, then it will take you a bit closer to what you want to get to.
Absolutely. And speaking of the spirit of collaboration, does that also extend to the various arms and organizations, that are present on the continent, that are all speaking towards the same goal, but perhaps working in silos, and maybe the coming together and sort of forging and strengthening collaboration would fast track the achievement for what I think is probably our combined vision as a continent?
Yeah, spot on. And I mean, Bridget, what I always enjoy when I listen to your shows is you're someone who appreciates open and honest conversations. So I want to be honest about this because, we all know that by 2030, 70% of this continent is under the age of 35, right? And yet you are not hearing that as a decisive conversation that says, if that is the case, how do all the organizations who are working with young people really figure out what is the best way for us to bring our efforts together in a meaningful way? Because at the end of the day, we know these Gen Zs are not going to be one-led. I mean, I'm a millennial and I'm going to be an oldie in 10 years' time, So we've got to give them the skills and capacity to be ready because 70% of them are under the age of 35. So I think it's a crucial gap. You are spot on. It's a crucial gap on the continent. We're not collaborating enough because I think we're still stuck in that old model of sort of, I want to be the best in my sector and we must be the head boys and head girls. But that's a very sort of selfish and short-term perspective of thinking about it when we realize the crucial challenges that we still need to actually address on this continent.
Absolutely. And that segues us into some of the work that you are now doing as the Mandela Rhodes Foundation with your newly launched podcast series. Tell us about plugging into this new way of connecting and conversating.
For sure. Well, this is the beauty of it, is that we actually, for the past 21 years, have been sort of podcasting in the leadership program because we bring for our scholars interesting groups of people who share very intimate, authentic stories about their life journey, but also what it actually takes to be in leadership. Because I think oftentimes, especially in this very social media world, everything is hashtag boss lady, hashtag winning, we all put up our posts, we're at WEF, we're at a UN event, but that's got nothing to do with leadership. In fact, I always say to people, if you're spending most of your time at conferences, who's leading the organization that you're supposedly the CEO of? And people don't want to have those conversations. So I think what we want to do with this podcast is to really say, how do we begin to expand the impact of the work that we've been doing with our students and, try to bring Nelson Mandela's values to the broader public, because I think now more than ever, and I think it's something that we can be frank about, we are living in an increasingly polarized society, and it is exactly those values that Mandela endeavored to say, how do we build bridges across divides and find a third way solution to all the problems we're facing? So our hope with this podcast is it brings authentic people who have gone through the journey of leading at senior levels, but who can also bring that human touch to say, hey, guys, it was real, and my team put me under the fire as the first one to go through. And the hope is that when people listen to that, they can say, oh, amazing. She was appointed as CEO at age 33, but this is actually the journey. And it was not just easy. There was highs, there were lows, and it can hopefully inspire people to continue in their own journey.
I mean, it's going to be fascinating just to track your journey and the environment that sort of sharpened you, because as we chuckle at you being born into the era of millennials, you were also born in a fascinating year, right? The year of the state emergency, and I'm sure through the years, conversations that you've had with your family and your parents around just the state of being and the state of mind at that time obviously reverberate and sort of come to conscious the older one gets and the more one directs their own life's trajectory.
Absolutely. Yeah, spot on. I have a 5.5-year-old daughter who started grade R a few weeks ago, and she keeps reminding me, Mommy, I'm a big girl now, and it's just the cutest thing. And it's exactly to your point. It's being present to the moments that we are born in and raised in. And I think as one gets older, you do start to sort of think about, how do I really draw on all these experiences? And I always say between sort of 40 and 50, that's really our prime time now, as those of us who are in leadership, who can understand a little bit of the younger generation, because we were sort of there, understand a little bit of the older generation, and be the ones who can, as best as possible, accelerate the change. And then by the time I'm 50, like, I'm irrelevant and I'm just sitting on boards, because the young kids are going to be like, these old people don't know what they're saying, you know? So
Absolutely. Judy, it's always a pleasure, and we look forward to listening to all the episodes that will come through from the Mandela Rhodes Foundation podcast. I'm sure, no doubt, you're going to curate quite the fascinating list of guests and conversations for us. That was CEO Judy Sukoza, who is the CEO of the Mandela Rhodes Foundation, one of the three legacy organizations, named after the statesman, and carrying through, of course, his vision not only for South Africa but for the continent. We're leaving you on a very sad note. Because the breaking news, if you weren't watching this briefing that's happening right now, the breaking news is that load shedding is back starting this weekend, starting with stage 3. That is the sad news of the day. We'll see you on Monday. Have an incredible weekend. Nonetheless, Ashraf is coming through.